Welcome, everybody, to episode 5 of Talking with Friends. I am Josh Shernoff. You know me from Shernoff on FITE, and of course, the Mind of the Meaning podcast. And I'm here today talking with my friends. First, we have my brother, the one, the only, the animator extraordinaire, Fred Shernoff. Fred, thanks for being back here to talk with us.
Hello.
And next up, he isn't frozen, and he also got a haircut. Ladies and gentlemen, looking significantly better than last time, Calvin Tan. How's it going, man?
Everything's going well. Yeah. Finally got my hair cut, so I don't have to deal with that anymore.
Yeah, but now none of us have to deal with that anymore. It's good. Going full Undertaker last time. And then
well, you could say this is going Undertaker also, remember?
You could, yes. That's it. That's the nice thing about the Undertaker. You get a mohawk, you're going Undertaker. You got long hair, going Undertaker. You know, it's wonderful. And speaking of wonderful and Undertaker, the lighting behind you. We are joined, of course, by Matt Mangol, who is just staring at, I want to say, an imaginary butterfly. But Matt Mangol is here as well, sporting another excellent shirt.
Will you stop?
Gorilla Monsoon. Will you stop? And Fred, you got a fun one too. No mistakes. Just happy accidents.
Bob Ross.
And I've got, I don't know where you can get yours, but I've got mine. I got mine over at ProWrestlingTees.com/Sosa Shernoff, which reminds me, everybody, before we get started here, has anyone been to our new ProWrestlingTees.com/Talking with Friends? Yeah, that's right. We have a Pro Wrestling Tees page and some really cool shirts on there, and more coming soon. I can hear it breathing. So, guys, we're going to talk today about where we left off was the summer of 2002, summer of a lifetime, some might say. And it was a terrible summer. It was a hot
best of
summer.
Times and the worst of times.
It was definitely the worst of times, but we decided it was going to be the best of times. So when we left off last episode, we decided, why don't we go to Canada? Why don't we, as our old friend Jack would say, why don't we just get out? And we did. We literally got out of the country. So it was, as we talked about last time, the picture that you see in the opening montage, the opening credits here. That was a picture of us on Fred and my driveway before we hit the road. And we hit the road in our mom's car. What was she thinking? Letting us borrow that.
She learned the lesson.
She definitely learned the lesson on this trip. But yeah, it was us and our old buddy Biz. Am I
right that the TV that we brought, was that the same? That was the TV that Dad built, the one that we were using to run the shows?
Yeah, which I actually have.
There's a TWF connection right
I have it in the closet right next to me. I do.
And we're talking about a CRT TV, so
yes,
it was about the depth of it was like this.
Yeah, it was not a very big TV.
A little box, and we wedged that sumbitch.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'm gonna go get it.
And you rigged up the Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Nintendo, right?
It was a Super Nintendo. Yeah, we put a towel so we wouldn't damage the leather, and we wedged that television right in there. And who needs a tricked out car when you can make your own?
Yeah, and it was probably not
back in early 2000s.
Had we gone to an accident, that would have been really bad.
Would have killed somebody. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Somebody got closed.
I remember. I think you went to Best Buy because we had to figure out how to power this thing.
That's right. Yeah, a converter.
So from cigarette lighter to
this little box that ran at about 300 degrees.
And TV was connected into it along with the Super Nintendo.
Yep. And I guess Josh is digging through his closet.
Well, the only game I remember, and I'm sure we had more than one game, but I remember playing Saturday Night Saturday
Little ear
Master
kicks in
Night
here.
Master
Saturday Night
Slam
Slam
Masters.
Yeah,
Saturday.
yeah.
with Flapjack and Oni.
What did I miss?
One of-
That
we're
was-
talking about setting up the TV and playing Super Nintendo, and Saturday Night Slam Masters, which is one of the
best
lesser
games,
talked
yeah.
about great wrestling games.
Sure.
So here it is. It's dustier than Mark Mess weight set, but
There it is.
This is it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that is what we used when Calvin and I were running the shows, the production. Everything was connected to that, and then that's also what we. Yeah.
I mean,
Not a wide array of plugs.
No, there's one.
So
Yeah, this was our dad built this.
way before, yeah, like the
Oh
80s.
God, way before. Yeah, back in the 80s, and I remember that we had two of them actually.
That was-
and one
that
of them
was-
used to be in our kitchen.
What the hell was
This
it
may
called?
be the one
This-
that was in our kitchen.
Heath Kit. There was a company called Heath, I guess, and they had like Heath Kits were these like robotics and electronics.
That's where we got the
kits.
right? We had a robot when we were
Yep.
kids,
Yep. So you'd go to the electronics store back in like the
Paulie
70s and 80s.
and
Yeah.
Paulie and
you,
Rocky.
you get a kit, and you had to have like a certain amount of equipment, like a soldering iron and all that stuff, and you basically follow the instructions and build your own electronics for cheaper than what you would get them for if they were pre-built. So Dad did it as a personal challenge, and it has stood the test of time. Does it still work?
I have not plugged it in.
I'm actually sure it does because it's not like it took any damage. Over
No,
the
I mean,
years.
there's no reason why it wouldn't.
despite driving it around cross country and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any available outlets. So I'll get back to you guys next month. But that was it. That's the one. We wedged that between the seats and the armrest from the front. So whoever was in the back could basically play video games while we're driving. As though this was like the longest trip anyone's ever. It's not that long. How long was the trip from?
About a 6 hour straight shot to Niagara Falls, which was our first.
Yeah, but you got to remember, like, we didn't have cell phones, so it's not like we were surfing.
We had each
We
other.
did.
Yeah.
We didn't.
We
well,
could've-
we didn't have.
we
We
could've
didn't have
just-
smartphones, but we did have cell phones because
We definitely had cell phones.
because I lost my cell phone. That is how I got the phone number that I currently have. Back then, if you changed phones, you had to get a different number, and I
Fred's current phone number is.
yeah, just run it along
Like
the bottom.
it's like movie phone. It's like movie phone.
So I had a little Nokia phone. I think that's pretty much what we all had. And on that trip, I thought I lost it potentially in Canada. It was nowhere to be found, I thought. And so I had to get a new phone and change my number, which to this day is the same number that I have. And about 3 months later, found that it was in the door of the car the whole time.
I think it was longer than 3 months.
Might
I
have
feel
been,
like it
might have
was
been
like-
longer. Yeah.
I feel like it was when
Still had
like,
the car.
lease
So
was
maybe,
up.
maybe the car was going back or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mind my
But yeah,
dog.
that was your dog. You got your dog. Would you like to introduce him?
That's Mr. Miyagi. He's my new puppy.
Yes,
And he's eating leaves off my garage floor.
Well, it's part of the training.
I'm looking forward to meeting him.
But
yeah, so the phones, fun
We're actual
fact, and I don't-
phones, and that's it.
they were actual phones.
Just
well, you
phones.
could play Snake.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah, you
we still
can do
talking
that.
about the phones, Josh? Or are you talking about the back seat of the car?
Hey now, what you and Biz were doing, but
I don't think so, Tim.
I'm sorry, Calvin. So we jumped all over your comment on about phones. So I don't know where you're going with that.
well, Calvin was insinuating that we didn't have phones.
Well, I was just saying that it's not like we had stuff that we could entertain ourselves with.
But we had
Right.
each
You know.
other.
We did have each other.
That
Yeah.
that was
God
the
forbid we
entertainment.
talk to each other, Josh. I mean, come
No,
on.
but the thing is, when we were playing the video games on there, we were talking to each other. The entire time we were talking to each other and joking and laughing about the games we were playing. So yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun and definitely something that, I mean, if you peeked into the car today of a bunch of people who were, God, what was I, 18? I was almost 19. You guys were
I just turned
almost
21.
21 or yeah. Oh, you were all 21. I think all of you had just turned
We left
20.
the day after my birthday, I think.
Okay,
we
so you
went
had just
night-
turned 21.
For my
Biz had
birthday.
turned-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing that pissed me off because we went.
Calvin was near 30 at that point, but yeah.
The night of my birthday, we went to Fridays so that in Willow Grove so that I could get my first legal drink. 1 or 2 days later, we're at a Fridays in Niagara Falls where Josh is now able to legally drink and just blew up my whole spot.
Well, I actually wasn't because the legal drinking age was 19.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Because all of you were 21 and had ID that you were 21, there was just this, when I'm like, yeah, I'm 19, there was this assumption like, well, why wouldn't he be, right? Like, why wouldn't he at least be this age? But yeah, I was also a month away from being 19. So, God, those days are gone. But anyway,
so in the front seat while people were playing in the back, so we had someone who was assigned to drive. We were in a rotation, and someone would have to navigate. And I think there were like
flawlessly.
Oh yeah.
There were GPS systems back then, some standalone
Garmin.
systems, and Garmin. Yeah, we didn't have any of those yet. They had just started to come out.
No, not like when you had it. I remember there's a quick side check here. A couple years later, Fred had one of the Garmin GPS little things that like would sit on your dashboard.
Little sandbag would sit on the dashboard.
Yeah, it had a sand scrotum. It sat on your dashboard.
Yeah, and had a couple of things in the car like that. But we were driving down the shore, I want to say, and I don't think you were there, Fred. I think I had borrowed it, and we reached a point of the shore. You had only downloaded so many maps.
You could only fit 100 megabytes worth of maps at a time.
Yeah, we're like, well, why don't we go over here then? Which was really only like a 20-minute drive. But we get to a certain point, and I'm looking at the map, and I'm driving, and I'm like, the world's ending. This is it. It starts going. Well, the whole screen cut off, and it was just starting to get like this blackness was getting closer and closer. This abyss, if you will. This Chris Park.
It's like in video games, they call that like the fog of war. Right,
right, you can't see beyond.
You can't see beyond.
Yeah, well, that's when we drove right into it. But anyway,
so before that, what I don't know how old our listeners are, but if anyone was driving back in the early aughts
or born.
Like
if you were born then, well, we've got a lot of
someone was born in 2000 or whatever would not know from this. I don't think I'm talking about.
Okay, I'm gonna say no, they don't. I don't feel like they know.
If you were driving and going on a trip of any sort in that time period, the high tech way to do it, which replaced the old folded maps in the glove compartment, was MapQuest, and you would go on and you would put in your destination and you'd print out the maps of where you were going. So when I planned this trip, and I did the bulk of the planning, what I had to do was plan point to point from we're going to go to the hotel. From the hotel, we're going to go to dinner. We're going to go to this activity, back to the hotel. Every single step of the way, I had to MapQuest it, and we had a folder full of MapQuest directions in order. So the problem was, the limitation of that was that I forgot to print like just a general map of the area of the cities that we'd be in. So all we had was the limited turn by turns. And if you missed that turn, or if God forbid we decided to change our plans, you're screwed.
You're screwed.
And that came to bite us a few times.
Yeah. I do want to say we have about 25 listeners based on previous episodes from Canada. So hello. Hey, yeah. Oh well.
So for the people actually watching this, it would kind of look like Waze if you just did the turn by turn.
That's right.
But on actual paper.
On paper.
But print it out.
Right? So no map,
an
just
actual
turn
piece
left,
of paper.
Go.
10.4
10.4 miles and then turn left at this road. Kind
like
of
an
deal.
actual piece of paper, though. So
and from dial-up internet, you'd have to go on there and print the,
And they would abbreviate the directions. So the first problem we ran into, it was smooth sailing until we were approaching the border. We're getting around Niagara Falls, New York, and I believe Josh was navigating for me.
Yes,
I think, and told me.
All I know is I can hear Matt Mangol's voice behind me. So yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I
we'll get to that part later.
It was something like you need to take the RT. You got to take the RT, and I had no idea what the hell he was talking about.
Here's the thing.
Roots.
The map quest, and this is something that these guys have been ribbing me about for 20 years. The map quest at one point referred to right as RT. Also referred to the word route as RT.
Or route.
It got a little confusing. Or route or route, yes. It got a little confusing. And I don't remember which one it was. I think I would say you got to turn on to the RT, and you're like, what's the RT? And I'm just reading. I'm a very literal person, so I am reading this directly from the map, and I'm saying the RT. I don't have the ability to Google, what does RT on MapQuest stand for. I'm just yelling this, and it became a thing. So at this time, I remind you,
if it's a direction, it has turn after it, Josh.
Dude, I don't know. It was a very stressful summer. I was going through a lot emotionally. I was very stressed with the TWF, and which Fred, yeah, you were gonna say something.
I was gonna say I want to point out, because of what I think is gonna come shortly, that this was me driving and Josh navigating, and Josh made a mistake to which we all had a good laugh. It didn't go that way. If I guess later on when
we have video of that, Fred.
In fairness, I didn't have a good laugh when I was navigating, and I certainly didn't have a good laugh when I was driving.
It's on video.
That's what I was getting at.
Yes, as a youth, I was a little hot-headed. I was a teenager, and I could get easily riled up. Not like today, where I'm pretty calm, cool, and collected. I am. I really am. Yeah, I'm apologizing all these years later. I may have been a little stiff-ski with some of the things that I said. But
so what got us at two different points of the trip, and I'm jumping out of order, but I don't think anybody cares to follow geographically where we were. But at 2 points in the trip, the same thing would happen when I was navigating for Josh. And what happened was the exit would be straight ahead, and to stay on the highway was off to the side. It looked like an exit ramp. So I would tell Josh, I think it was I told you to take the exit or something to that effect, and you went the other way because it looked wrong. So it's an understandable mistake.
Also,
and then back to go ahead.
A little inside baseball. To this day, I am terrible at maps, and when it tells where, you're supposed to go and however many feet, like for whatever reason, I am just not good at ever being able to know where to go. I think it's just like instant panic sets in that I'm about to make a mistake. And then I usually course correct and end up making a mistake. But much like Matt Mangol did on the trip to Canada, when Matt Mangol missed an exit and the man stopped and just stopped on the road, not in the middle of the road, pulled off. No. Matt Mangol right now is, yeah. So here's the thing.
Went in reverse.
We go, Mangol, we're like, you missed the exit. He's like, no, back up. He's like, guys, look for me. We're like, dude, you use your mirrors. What the fuck? I don't know how to use. I'm not going to use the mirrors. I'm not going to use the mirrors. I'm driving. I'm trying to back up, guys. I'm going to back up. The man would not use the mirrors. He wanted to do the all over the shoulder gimmick and wanted to look back and wanted us to be his mirrors.
God forbid there's 6 eyes in the back. I got 2 mirrors. There's no backup camera.
Oh, okay? But nothing bad could happen when you've got 4 other people.
Hey, I'm raking the eyes right now. All right, listen.
All
right. We got there. I went in reverse about 60 miles an hour for about a quarter mile. I whipped around and we made the turn.
On a highway, the man's just gunning it on a highway, looking backwards, not looking at his mirrors.
Yep. We got there.
We got there. The ends justify the means, right?
Yes. Calvin Tan.
But that was
No, Fred, continue.
Oh, I was going to say, but that was to my point about the MapQuest directions. The panic in each of these situations had to do with that if you missed that turn and couldn't get back to the exit,
right.
we didn't know where the hell we were.
Yeah, that's important when we're talking about
it's not like it would recalculate.
Exactly. Right, it wasn't like Mangol was just like, oh, we'll go to the next exit. And we're like,
the Mangol incident happened in northern Pennsylvania, like in the northern Poconos, really? Getting close to the New York State border, and we had no idea at that point. We were way beyond our area.
In Montreal somewhere.
Oh yeah,
I remember we had to find like a McDonald's or something to ask directions.
Well, we were trying to get into Montreal. That was
one way.
Oh.
So here, this ties into wrestling.
And the rude French people. I apologize if our listeners are French. They're probably nice, but the people there not nice.
Well, let's find out. Based on previous episodes,
I wouldn't go so far as to say that, but
it does.
You didn't go
look like
me and Biz went into the McDonald's to ask directions.
We have a listener in Belgium.
I don't think you can judge the entire population based on a couple people who happen to be working in the McDonald's.
Yes.
I said dumb.
No matter where you are in the world. But so what happened was we did need to stop it sometimes. It was usually always when Biz was driving. And there were times where that man would stop and he would ask directions. Go, excuse me, do you know where's the Days Inn's at? And like, we're looking for the Days Inn or whatever. And there's one guy, right? So we stop. And Biz is asking for directions. And the guy is talking to him and talking to him. And we all...
I am sitting behind him.
You were behind him. I want to say I may have been... I was either in the... I think I may have been in the front or I was in the middle or something. But no, I would have been in the middle. Mangol would have been... I
was navigating.
Based on our rotation. But I think all of us noticed that this man was missing a tooth. And unfortunately, because that man was missing a tooth, our good friend Biz had a complete inability to focus on anything other than the fact that the man was missing a tooth.
I could see it in his eyes because I saw it in his mirror, his side mirror, that his eyes, he had that grin on his face when this guy is trying to help him, give him directions. Mm-hmm. And I knew that he was not paying attention to a word that man was saying. And focusing on the man's missing tooth.
And at the very end, now we'll remind you of the time, this was 2002. At the very end, when the guy tells, when we're all like, oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Biz goes, thanks, Benoit, and guns it, cackling like a lunatic. Yep. And he starts going, and we're like, all right, Biz, we're like, aren't you supposed to turn here? Oh, I don't know. I wasn't paying attention.
He would ask directions from like anybody. He asked what I'm pretty sure was a prostitute in somewhere in Quebec. And it just like, he would just pull over. We'd be like, Biz, we're gonna get shot. Like we don't know where we are. And he would be like, no, we need to know. And he would just,
excuse me, you know where's the Days Inn's at? Just nonstop.
It's like he would just roll down the window and yell at people. Yeah, it's basically probably what it ended up looking like.
Biz was a character. And I say was because Biz has changed. We've all grown up. Biz has changed a lot in his life. But the Biz back then, we have videos, we have pictures and stuff. But without knowing him, it is so tough to really grasp the uniqueness of this individual, the way his mind was, while wired to work at full capacity, was wired in a different way, some would say. Then this is not an intelligence thing. Very, very intelligent guy. But the way he would just view things or act or things he would say, the panic he would have over certain things. Like later on, while we were there, we decided to go to, was it the museum that had a planetarium in it?
Yeah, the Ontario Science Museum or something like that.
So we went to the Ontario Science Museum, and we're all there, and I don't know where everybody was. All I know is I was there probably with at least one or two of you, and we're spinning around like like a penny would spin around this thing, this like giant funnel almost. And there was some sort of scientific something to it, like how long
it would like form a pattern or something.
Yeah, it would like form a pattern as it was going down. And all of a sudden, to my left, running down the hallway, comes Biz yelling, let's go, guys. And we're like thinking like some emergency has happened. There's a fire.
Night at the museum.
Something terrible has happened. They had just merely announced, hey, last call if anyone wants to go check out the planetarium. And in that moment, that man needed to do it. And he was so damn eager to get in for this planetarium that the man pushed over, he was like pushing people out of the way, a woman on a walker.
Like George Costanza in that episode when there's a fire and he pushes the lady out of the way with a walker.
Oh,
I don't even think we got good seats. Weren't we like on the
no,
floor?
No, he were on the floor. I was on the floor.
He did. Okay. No, the four of us sat on the damn floor. It was like a trap door, like the warrior was gonna come out, and we're sitting there like the British Bulldog. And and Biz was sitting in on the front row on the bench.
Oh, that's because he pushed his way.
Yeah, while there were elderly and handicapped people standing off to the side, and that man was sitting very proud of it.
We do have a wrestling term that we gave to describe when stuff like this would happen.
Yeah,
is when he would be running wild, kind of like when
wild.
Hulkamania would run wild on you.
Bizomania would run wild all over you. Do you think he'll be upset if we make a T-shirt? So no, but then we're all watching this planetarium thing. And all of a sudden, there's this kid, like a few rows behind Biz, starts going to his mom's, going, looks like a phoenix.
They're talking about a constellation that was on on the gimmick up there.
It looks like a phoenix. And
about 87 times. That
was it. None of us, much like Biz with Benoit, we couldn't focus on anything other than
and it was so
Phoenix.
Peaceful. Like I was so grateful that Biz had harassed us into getting into that. It was so nice. And I remember them like setting the stage, like, imagine night has fallen and you're on the roof looking sooth.
There's a Phoenix.
And
it was always sooth.
And I was having such a good time, and then this Phoenix thing started.
I'd like to apologize to our Canadian friends.
No, look, our Canadian.
It's a shoot. That's what
actually was said. Right, so it's okay.
No,
you know?
what? Yeah, we say water. So,
I'm sure everybody listening. There's Philly accents all over this thing.
Yeah, we have no idea. We're like we're talking, like, but yeah, no, but they just kept going, and they just kept saying sooth, and it just. Yeah, it's one of those things where it tickles you, and you say to yourself, "All right, that's inappropriate. You can't laugh at the way somebody's saying." Well, now
for us, it was probably the equivalent of like Jericho saying "again" for the first time.
Yeah, it seemed like because again, and I'm, for lack of a significantly better term, the way that was normal to us. Obviously not the normal way to speak, but our norm from our area outside of Philadelphia, where we're from, with that accent that we're familiar with, that we consider normal. This woman was speaking, and it sounded, quote unquote, normal to us until she'd hit the thing like sooth, much like Jericho. And Jericho's talking, it sounds like from anywhere America, until he says about, or he says again, or anything, certain things that, although again, I don't know that that's a Canadian thing. That might just be a Jericho thing.
It's Triple H.
Triple H.
Triple H.
But no, I remember the trip fondly though, and
we got stuck once. I'm trying to think, like there's a lot of stories, but
nobody cares about the bulk of it or whatever. But I will say there were a couple of highlights. The one was when we all put on S shirts, the superstar shirts that I had back in the day, which now there's the So Says Shernoff shirt available now at ProWrestlingTees.com/So Says Shernoff. We all decided to go and film ourselves just walking around. We're like, and this is just, I don't know what we were thinking. We just thought it would be funny. Nobody cared. No one could have cared less. Like it was Fred. I don't believe even came with us. We went across the street to.
I was reading in the hallway.
Yeah, with like there were like a bunch of kids there or something too.
There was some sort of like, I don't know, some youth group, and I thought some of the counselors were attractive, and I was hoping they would just come wandering down the hallway.
I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to say you weren't sitting in that hallway to get fresh air. You were in.
Oh no. It was. I was
positioning
myself
what kind
for
of
what
a man you were.
I was sure they were going to come back, and they didn't. They locked all the kids in the rooms and said goodnight, and that was it.
They're going to come back and they're going to be like, "Who is this guy sitting reading in the hallway? I should invite him in."
We got to get to know him.
Yeah, I got to get to know him and his probably also superstar shirt. So Calvin Tan, a memory from Canada.
Memory would be that we got stuck in a parking garage emergency exit, thinking we were trapped in there.
Sortie, yes.
So who wants to paint this picture for everybody? Calvin Tan, you want to paint it?
I'm not a good painter when it.
Fred,
we were coming out of that underground mall that runs through a lot of Montreal, right? Like they sort of like underground city.
Yeah.
And we were trying to figure out how to get out of there, and we couldn't find like a proper exit. And then I don't remember. It was Biz who
I think it's Biz.
When it started there, started yelling, "We gotta go sortie d'urgence or something like that."
Sortie d'urgence,
urgency, just like last call.
Yeah,
we did that, but towards the door, and then we went through the door. It closed, and there was no lock on our side. There's no handle.
It locked behind us, and there was no door handle. You couldn't.
There's no door handle.
Which we realized that we had taken an emergency fire exit, and it said at the top of the stairs that if you open that door, it was going to trigger the fire alarm. And so we had to make a decision of whether we were going to stay there forever.
But let's talk about the time in there. So right off the bat, one of my favorite parts, Matt Mangol. Otherwise, Matt Mangol, very mature guy, cool, calm, collected, very much on top of things. But in that moment, when that door closed and he saw the other thing that had the alarm, that man starts panicking. But he doesn't want anyone to know he's panicking. So he's just kind of pacing back and forth, going, shit, wonderful, great. Shit. Perfect. Nah, awesome. Great job. Nah, good job, Josh. I'm like, the fuck did I do? He's, no, good, great. And then he's like silent for a little. And then he hits us with the, dude, I got to call, check in with my parents at some point today. We're like, what? Mangle, how long do you think we're going to be here?
Well, there was no signal in there either. It was all cement.
No, that's the thing. There's no signal on our phones. Mangle's starting to panic that like it's going to be like 20 hours later and his parents have been like, we haven't heard from that yet. Like, what's going on? But like, and I kept saying like, guys, why don't we just open it? And everyone's like, well, you're going to set off the alarm. And I kept saying, it's like, well, so what? And it's like, we can't set off the alarm. It's not an emergency. I'm like, it's an emergency. We're stuck.
So that is the emergency.
If the alarm went off, we were going to run for it.
But which also made no sense because the thought, when you really break it down, we got locked in a thing. It's an emergency exit. We can't get out. So if the alarm goes off and like and everybody's going like, oh, the police is going to come. The police will come. And it's like, but if they came, we go, well, look, we thought this was an exit and the door closed. So I was like, the alarm's not an issue. It's not, and then eventually.
I guess you convinced us. So after about 10 minutes that felt like an hour, we decided, probably even less than that. We decided to leave.
It's probably like 2.5 minutes.
We decided to leave and we're ready, like all like whispering to each other, like, all right, we just got to run for it. And we have no idea what's on the other side. And we opened the door into the lobby of like a hotel. And I wish that we could get that security camera footage as we come creeping out like we've been underground for a year and like we're adjusting to the light. And
I did notice that door was busted.
Yes, that is true. Calvin was like, it's busted. I don't think it's right. The alarm did not go off. We go up there. We all instantly start checking our phones. I know I'm poking fun at Mangle, but we're all instantly checking our phones to see if we have service because in those 2.5 minutes, I'm sure at this, all of our parents were sending up, flares to try and find us. It was like, this is the thing. We were outside of our country. And I love Canada. It's one of, especially the city of Toronto, one of my favorite places in the world to go.
I think
but
also
we're out of
I
the
could
country, and there's this constant
correct me.
worry that, especially there, because people not everybody spoke English, and it was a little
Correct me if I'm
nerve-wracking.
wrong, and like obviously there was like little things like the West Virginia trip or something like that, but for the most part, this was the biggest trip that like any of us had ever done without like a school or our families or something like that, where we're like on our own, and we chose
We're
to
the
go to a
adults.
different and we went to a different country, so we didn't ease into this whole independence thing, and it was a lot.
No, but you know what? We needed. I don't. Don't let facts get in the way of a good story. So I don't know if this is exactly in order, but I do know that, man, did we need a good nightcap after this? So this reminds me of the drink. Matt Mangol, do you remember the name of this drink that you and I decided to go down? We were in the hotel and we decided to go down and grab ourselves a drink.
Vodka ice.
Vodka ice. That's what it's called. Vodka ice. So if you cut off the end of vodka, so very much, so not like a Smirnoff or a Shernoff, like the shirt I'm wearing. But we thought that was our thought. We're like, okay, well, this is going to be like a Smirnoff ice or something. Cause none of us have ever been big drinkers, from all the way from, like I just don't care for it. Calvin, I think, will literally die if he has too much. Man, it's just straight up allergic to it. You ever want to see Calvin get plastered, have him sniff a beer?
That's that much of it.
That's it. Man's just
Used to sit there when Calvin was 21 before the rest of us, and we'd go out to dinner, and he'd sit there with like with like a, what do you call it, Smirnoff Ice or one of those kind of drinks, and he would be nursing the one drink and just be like, we'd come over like, Calvin, what's going on? It's been a fun night.
A newsflash for everyone: I am the oldest one here.
Yes, Calvin is. I know most people are who are watching this are going, "Oh, Calvin, I wonder if maybe one of them babysat him when they were younger." No, Calvin is older than all of us, but that son of a bitch found the fountain of youth. Because if you're looking at that picture in the beginning and going, "Wow, they just photoshopped a current picture of Calvin in with that picture of them from 2002," no, it's just Calvin. So Calvin is older, but at this point, like we'd said before, everybody was 21. I was 18 and almost 19. So, so Mangol and I got this, and apparently vodka ice was not like, so here's the thing. We don't really know what happened, because all I know is we woke up the next morning. I do not remember going to sleep, and there was still a decent amount left in our bottles. And we were just really tired, but it kind of became just a running thing of the vodka ice. And, what happens in Canada stays in Canada.
Yeah.
Vodka up.
I'm going to see, now that I can, I'm going to look up and see.
Like a vodka ice.
Vodka.
Yeah, like
Well,
back
they
then,
probably
it was
changed
like,
the recipe by now. That was 20 years ago. So
back then, like the drinks for when you started getting into drinking of age and stuff like that would be like Mike's Hard Lemonade,
Sure.
Smirnoff Ice. I think now you have like hard seltzers now, which is kind of what the thing is now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There was
I can't find it.
Anyway, we're looking that up. There was we had breakfast at this place in Toronto, in our hotel in Toronto. We were at, do anybody remember the chain we were at? It was like Travel Lodge or something like that.
It wasn't the Cylinder of Sin. It was a different Travel Lodge.
Oh God.
I think it might have been, but we were young. We weren't staying at the finest establishments, but we were staying somewhere outside of Toronto. It was like north of the city, and there was a restaurant in the hotel, so we get breakfast there. And one morning, Biz ordered brown toast. Brown toast. So they bring him wheat bread toasted with butter and everything, and he looks at it and goes, "Excuse me, this is not what I ordered." And the guy comes over and he's like, I remember the waiter was very cool and like talked to us every day and all that. And he's like, "What's the matter with it?" And he's like, "You ordered brown toast," and he's like, he explained that what he wanted was white bread toasted until it became brown.
So toast. So again, when we say that man thought of things in a different way.
Yep.
Yeah, that's very similar to how, say, like one of our children would describe something.
Right.
Yeah, there was
Oh,
that.
did we ever say why we decided to go to Canada?
'Cause
It was cooler. Like I mean, we
was
thought
really hot
we thought it
summer.
would be cool to do, but it was extremely hot all summer, and Canada, which often even in the summer runs kind of chilly, like in the 60s and stuff, was like a perfect like high 70s, low 80s. It was really nice.
But there was also the aspect of we had decided, because this was in the thick of our wrestling fandom and being a part of everything, we had decided that we wanted to check out the WWE Canada store,
That's right. Yeah.
which was, where was that?
Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls. With like the pile driver,
Which we did not go on that.
we did
that
not
ride,
go on.
yeah.
I think it may have been shut down by that point. But
That's right. We went to Ripley's, believe it or not, and I got that picture with that the 1,000-pound suit. It comes up
Yeah,
like
the
20 years ago today on Facebook. I'm like,
Man, that's a great picture.
oh yeah, I got that one. I got the Amish. I got the Irish Amish beard going on there. The Beyond chin strap. Well, then the other thing.
yeah.
Hold on. We're sitting at Fridays. Just hold on a second. We're sitting.
this
there.
is in the very beginning.
That was our first night at Niagara Falls. Yeah.
To say the area was posh would be a lie. Kind of grungy, kind of like
That's the appeal of Niagara Falls, the tourist trap, and it's.
But Canada,
it's charming in a way.
gleaming, shining like as if it's heaven and you're in hell. But we're sitting there at Fridays. We get our food, all that stuff. We're sitting there. Power goes out. All right. Then it comes back on. We get our bill, and it's like twice as much as it is in America.
Yeah,
So,
and I mean, well, that
there goes
the frustrating-
half of all of our budget for the trip.
And I know Fred was hot about the fact that we went
drinking.
to what?
Oh,
About
I
the
was gonna
drink.
say
But you were hot about the
drinking
fact
at
that we went to Fridays.
Why was I?
But
hot
we
about
were
that?
because you didn't want to, because we go to Fridays every day, pretty much.
This is the kind of thing I would like to do, though. Like, I don't know.
I thought you were hot about it.
It's possible. I'm not sure.
He might have been half hot.
But I mean, it was. We didn't
Maybe a
realize
quarter.
that everything
Maybe a
there was.
quarter.
Everything there was super expensive because it was a tourist trap. It was not.
I must have been.
Canadian
You know what?
prices.
I must be mixing it up because of the drinking thing.
Yes.
That you were hot about the drinking thing.
And then the other part was we were going to that parking garage. I think it was the first hotel. We're driving around, couldn't find.
Yeah,
any
so
parking
we
spots.
went to Niagara Falls for the evening, and then after dinner and going to WWE Canada, we went from there, got back in the car, and drove the couple hours to Toronto. I think that's
So we're driving around the parking garage
over the stinkiest body of water. Remember that?
Lake Ontario.
Lake Ontario smelled. How do you remember these things?
It was bad back then.
The QE whatever highway goes around Lake Ontario between Niagara Falls and Toronto.
Yeah, dude,
we've done it many times.
But I still only remember about. I've lived in my neighborhood for over half a decade, and I only know like 2 street names. So,
we met a couple characters along the way. They don't know it, but we know it. There was a guy in some kind of a lumberjack vest and jorts, meandering around, like scoping out people's cars in the parking garage. We dubbed Canadian DeJesus.
We didn't dub him anything. Matt Mangol dubbed him
Right,
Canadian DeJesus. Yeah, is that
And
guy?
then,
That guy right down there.
A day later, Shotgun Jimmy, who would cross the street at about -1 mile an hour, hold up a lighter.
So Shotgun Jimmy was a weird one.
And then
this
he'd
was
walk-
a dude.
Yeah.
He's walking down the street. We're all parked, and again, like we don't, we're in traffic, and he would just come out there in a way that you would like expect him to be like asking for, like to come like to each window, like asking for a donation or something like that, like panhandling. Yeah. But the dude instead, like Mango said, he has a lighter, like a little Bic lighter, and he's lighting it. And he had a cup. Didn't he have a Dixie cup?
Yeah.
With the bottom cut out. And he's just doing it looking like he's shooting people. Shotgun Jimmy.
Which doesn't age well. It wasn't good then.
It wasn't good then either. It's the people in the car going, what? Yeah, and then Biz saw him as a great guy to ask for directions.
And then we also went to the casino, Josh, where you ran out of money.
No, Fred ran out of money. That wasn't me. Fred
That was in Montreal.
You had to eat something.
And
remember that, Josh?
I always have to eat something.
No, we put together something that you had to eat for money.
No,
wait.
that may have been at a different time.
Whatever we ate in the casino did not agree with us. But
we'll talk about that. Yeah, maybe I did have to eat something.
So there was a casino
somewhere
in Montreal.
Hold on, Fred. Not to step all over your toes, but
are we sponsored by Discover Card for today, Josh? By the way,
certainly not.
That was my.
No, but we used to do a thing where like it wasn't that I needed the money; it was a cheap way of getting a dessert. I would say things like, remember there was the at Fridays they had the. Are we sponsored by Fridays? They had the brownie obsession, yes. And so I had done there were a couple times where I was like, where it was like, if Josh can eat the entire brownie obsession, we'll pay for it. No, it was like, it was the first time it was, we'll pay for it. And I did. So then it was like, I wanted you guys to do it again. It was like, can you eat it without using your hands? So I just went right in face first. There's a picture somewhere. I don't know where that is. But there's a picture somewhere.
Man.
But yeah, brownie obsession. Oh, now I'm hungry. That'll help my dad.
So the casino, what happened with the casino was, that was actually, I think, one of the times, that might have been the Benoit thing when Biz was asking for directions, that we, the casino was, you had to go up a bridge and like take an exit off the bridge, like and wind around down to a little island, and which was kind of cool. And there was a casino there, and I only brought with me a Discover card because this is in the early days of building credit and everything, and I had no money. And for some reason, Discover saw fit to give me a much higher credit limit than someone my age should have been entitled to. So I thought, if I'm going on a trip and I won't run into any problems, but I did, because Discover wasn't accepted in most places in Canada, including the casino. That was so I couldn't gamble.
So you didn't really have anything else, and you're kind of robbing from Calvin to pay Matt. It was you're trying to figure out what to do here, we ate something that evening.
I can picture it as a little cafe in the casino.
I can't.
I can picture it very clearly and standing in line, but I don't know what we ate. So some kind of like croissant something.
When I go on trips and things like that, like this, I went to Scotland with a group of friends, and the same thing I've done every time we've taken trips. I always have somebody that I can rely on, that I know they know where we're supposed to be. We talked about how this was the first trip we took as grown-ups, but I've never really, now I have a wife. So I have someone I can rely on so that I can just kind of, as our good friend Sassy Mike Molassie would say, bop around, not really knowing where I am or what's going on. The side effect to that, while it's really refreshing to not have to be that worried, I'm just like, oh, okay, I'll go wherever Fred says. The side effect is I don't have very clear memories of where we were, what we were doing, because I was kind of just doing my thing, and also I think I was getting hit in the head a lot that summer when we were doing TWF, so a lot of stiff shots from Mangol, but no, there he is. Will you please? All right, Mangol's working a match with himself. For those of you who are listening. By the way, if you're only listening, go to Mind of the Meanie, YouTube page, youtube.com/Mind of the Meanie, and watch this. It's so much better to watch. You see Calvin Tan's green.
Mr. Miyagi's going to take a dump behind Fred.
I thought he was
Oh, God.
He's going to pinch one off back there. Watch out.
Pinch it up, pop it out, and pinch it
There's a lot of wandering happening.
Yep, he's starting to circle. Little Snipsky. All right.
Boy.
So we ate something. It did not work well in our system.
No.
Fred, do you want to take this one?
We ate something that did not agree with us, and that in our family that is not an uncommon occurrence. But we had no stomach medication, no Pepto-Bismol or Imodium or anything that would help in any way. We were unprepared for it, and
I would have taken a tampon at this point.
and why this is
hopefully a new one.
Why it was memorable is because there have been many times where one of us was blown up in the bathroom, but why this is memorable?
Basile.
The t-shirt torn up.
Why this is memorable is because I I remember being in the car on the way back to the hotel.
Sure.
And I think Biz was driving.
Shernoff Brothers Plumbing will clog that shit.
We're on the way back, and I remember telling Biz like I'm basically like whipping him like a horse. Like we gotta move it along. We gotta get
and Biz is probably, I don't even know this, but he's probably just like, I don't care. I'll get there whenever I get there.
I mean, he's good at that. He's zipping around the traffic.
Oh, he's an expert driver. Yeah.
And about the time we get back, I'm just waiting. Like all I care about is getting to the bathroom in our hotel. And by the time we get in there, Josh goes, Fred, are you really gonna need that for a while? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, cause I'm not feeling so good. And I'm thinking, all right, we have a conflict of interest now.
You gotta work a match before you earn the right to go to the bathroom.
So what ended up happening was we had a tag team in the bathroom where one of us had to go in and was allocated like 2 minutes, and then the other one would start pounding on the door for the hot tag, and we had to pinch it off and swap places.
Dude, first of all, there wasn't much pinching. This was like trying to catch a mudslide with a thimble. It was not. This was a bad situation.
Look,
and yeah, Fred, we would just tag in, tag out.
Josh, you could have AC Slatered it while he's sitting there. Start talking to him. Put your head on his shoulder.
This is basically what Mangol's providing us while this is happening. Mangol's sitting there going, and then occasionally, dude, oh man, that stinks. What do you want from us? It was bad. And that's the other thing. Look, your own brand you can deal with. Yeah. But I don't care family or not. You don't want somebody else's brand. You need to let that have some time to breathe, to dissipate.
There was no time.
There was no time. You were sitting right into it like Blue Meanie trying to let one go in front of the microphone and sit right back down in front of it. Yeah, it's there. It was not good. And the bathroom, I believe there was no bathroom in the lobby.
Pretty sure there wasn't, because that seems like the obvious solution.
Yeah,
it was a very small lobby. I remember that.
It was a bad situation.
This was a Days Inn on the corner of a street in Montreal.
Do you know where the Days Inns was?
So if anyone's from that area, maybe you know what we're talking about. I don't even know if it's still there, but
yeah. And if you were a police officer around that time, we've got a bone to pick with you, because we were driving our mom's Lexus, okay, an SUV, very nice car, pride and joy, favorite child. No, but we're driving this car. Our mom was kind enough, naive enough to allow us to take it. But we were not the kids who were going to go and joyride. We were taking very good care of this car.
No, but we were going to stick a TV in the middle.
We were, but with a towel.
With a towel to respect the leather interior. Now,
you toweled the crevasse.
We parked in a. They had a little parking lot there. It was like a little lot across the street, I believe. Almost looked like
little city lot.
Yeah, a little city lot. Come out the next day. Somebody had hit the car. Parked. Never occurred to us someone might do that. But there's a note. We go, oh, wow. Okay. It was a cop. A cop hit the car, left a note. Unfortunately, it was another country, so there was nothing you could do about it. Because our mom actually tried to, contact everything.
Deal with the French Canadian insurance.
Yeah, it didn't work, but that was a pain. Speaking of pains. Oh, before we get that, I was going to say, speaking of pains and in the hotel. So as young people would, we're flipping through the channels, and I want to say there was some static thing or something was like, we thought it was Macho Man or something going on. But we decided to cross Biz up. We ordered something, and he watched it, and he thought one guy was killing another guy, but in fact, he was just expressing his love. I'll leave it at that.
Horrible.
Just hand it off my dog before any accidents.
Nice. You don't want the dog to be there when you go potty.
There are no mistakes, Fred. There are no mistakes, Fred.
Yeah, just happy accidents. Oh man. Well, yeah. So from that not so happy accident with the car, so let's talk about Subway. Now, Biz's parents owned a Subway, and we loved to go to Subway at the time. Subway was better back then. Biz did not want to go anywhere near a Subway. He would take pictures in front of a Subway with a thumbs down. Like he hated Subway because he had to help his parents work at Subway. And we promised we wouldn't go to a Subway. We promised. But one place that we did want to go was to WWE's headquarters in Canada.
Which I don't think exists anymore.
No, old Bison
Tower
Head.
doesn't
The
exist.
Bison Head.
Old Bison Head. We wanted to go see old Bison Head. Carl DeMarco. So we went. So here was our thing. Like this was very. And when I said before with like wearing the shirts, like this is like DX invading WCW. Like I don't know what we thought we were doing, and we weren't trying to invade. We were just like, it's this like idea of just like we'll go in and we'll just if you act a certain way, they'll let you in, right? What were we going to do once we were in there? We're going to pitch the TWF as like an offshoot to the WWE Canada. Like we had no
plan.
No plan. We just wanted to basically go in and walk around and take a picture of ourselves and be like,
we had a vision that we're sightseeing. So we're going to go around and we're expecting for WWE. Was it WWE at the time or WWF?
It was WWE because I have a WWE Niagara Falls t-shirt.
So we're expecting that WWE Canada headquarters is going to be like a building that they own, and there's going to be a big lobby, and there's going to be pictures of all your favorite wrestlers, and we're going to get pictures in front of those.
We were expecting the northern version of Titan Towers.
Right.
That's what we were expecting.
And we got really excited. It was on the MapQuest directions, and we got very excited when we finally got there, and we saw a corporate monument with the different tenant names, and the WWE logo was on there. And then we found out that it was not their own office building, that they basically just rented maybe a floor of some building somewhere, and there was a security gate.
Yeah, and we didn't have an appointment. But we're like, there's got to be a way to get around here. There's got to be a way. So Biz is driving at this point, and he is determined he's going to find a way. So the man drives 2-3 blocks down the street, right? Exits the parking lot, drives 2 or 3 blocks down the street, sees another office building, pulls in, finds a janitor emptying the trash can out front of the place, rolls the window down. We're like, Biz, what are you doing? Excuse me. Do you know how to get to WWE Canada? And we're all like, Biz, what the? Biz, we're not here. We're down the street. This is another place. And he's like, guys, excuse me. Do you know how to get? And the guy did not speak English. So now Biz is like, whatever. And he's like, he's all pissed off because he's trying to get us for all our dreams to come true.
We're telling him to let it go.
We're like, dude, it's fine. We can't get in. It's no big deal. And he's all pissed off, right? Rewind about 3 days earlier, maybe even more.
I think it's actually the beginning of the trip.
The very beginning of the trip.
Yeah, I don't know how many days. So WWE Canada was on our way. We had just left Toronto. We're on our way toward Montreal. So I guess it's about the halfway point of the trip.
So maybe 2-3 days?
2 days before or something. Yeah, something.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Fred had mentioned earlier, we talked about the weather being particularly hot for Canada, but particularly hot in general in that summer. I had gotten a screw top little drink of milk. How would you describe it?
A chug. It was like a chug.
Like a 12. Yeah, like a 12.
Little cafeteria type plastic container.
But a plastic one. Think like a muscle milk, but it was just milk. It was just regular skim milk, like to drink. I don't know why. We talked about how great my stomach was. But so I drank probably about half of it while I was driving, and I put it down in the door, the little pocket by the door at the bottom of the door.
Pocket.
The what? The map pocket. And I forgot about it. So fast forward now back to this with Biz. We're now in the parking lot. Biz is parked. We're telling him, we're like, dude, you can't do this. This is a completely different building. This is a completely different street. This is, for all we know, we've crossed over a county line at this point. You can't just ask this guy. And I made the mistake, and we're all telling him, he's getting pissed off. I said, Biz, this would be like going to Subway and ordering I can't remember. It was from Fridays. It was a dish from Fridays. It was the one I used to get all the time. I don't remember what it was. It was some sort of like pasta dish. Do you remember? It had like...
Oh, yeah.
Like a chicken... it's not important, but I just, I don't know. Somebody Googled the 2002 menu of Fridays. But I basically said to him, it's like going to Fridays and ordering a...
He's going to Subway and ordering...
Going to Subway and ordering this chicken whatever from Fridays. It's not there. And that man goes, we're not at Friday, or no, we're not at Subway, and stomps his foot into the side of the car. Mind you, our mother's Lexus. Kicks his foot. Explodes.
Well, we didn't know that yet.
No.
All we know that is there's a very bad smell.
All of a sudden, as they say, Granny had her sour belches. It was not good.
It was bad.
It was not good.
It was rancid.
It was horrible. And we're all like, all of us are just instantly like, what the? And then Biz is like, I didn't do anything. We're like, Biz, what did you do? I didn't do anything. We're like, you did something. And that's when we discovered I had left that milk there. So now he's blaming me. It became my fault. I'm like, it's my fault for leaving the milk there, but never in a million years did I think somebody was going to stomp it. You're going to curb stomp my milk in the...
Yeah, kick the lid off of it.
Kick the lid off and went everywhere. So we had to stop somewhere to get napkins to clean this up. And the first place we see is a Subway. And that's where we went. And he was so pissed off. And he had to clean it up with Subway napkins, which...
Poetic justice.
To keep in mind, it's no longer really liquid.
No, it was hard. It was terrible.
Because it curled. So it was.
I mean, we're basically able to clean it up and get the smell out, but it was
like
just
yogurt left on a heater.
So
coagulated.
So angry.
Any other story that you remember, other than when we filmed ourselves hanging out in the hotel while Fred tried to sleep? Other than that.
Well, we did see a couple wrestlers, did we not? Or one wrestler
on the way back.
Towers, yeah.
On the way back, we decided we're gonna go to Titan Towers.
So we scrapped one part of our trip because we were burned out. It was a lot of traveling, and we were having a good time, but it was it just been a long summer, and Josh and I were arguing about a lot lot of things, and to put it nicely, and Biz was very depressed. He was going had been going through a breakup, I think, not that long before, and was still kind of we were having a good time for the most part, and we didn't want to push it too far. So it was in the MapQuest directions. We were supposed to be spending a night at Lake George on our way back down through upstate New York, and we decided to scrap that and make a stop in Connecticut.
Oh, Stamford, Connecticut. And we did. And we tried to get in, and they would not let us in into Titan Towers. But while we were standing outside, we're like, oh yeah, we're seeing if we could get a tour. Oh, could we, whatever. They wouldn't let us in. They were smart. But while we're standing outside, all of a sudden, a car pulls up out of their garage area, stops at the stop sign. We all look over, and it is very clearly Triple H driving with this massive arm at the window there, and Shawn Michaels in the passenger seat. Now, I'm not saying they killed kayfabe because like 2 days later was SummerSlam, where Shawn Michaels made his return. I don't know what I think they were there kind of like working things out. Maybe they were working through the story. Maybe they were working through spots. Maybe they were in the ring. I don't know what it was. But I remember going, that's Triple H, but I think he's clean shaven. That man doesn't have a beard. And Matt Mangol did not believe me. Matt Mangol's like, it probably just wasn't Triple H. I'm like, no, that was Triple H, but the man doesn't have a beard. It's like, he has a beard. He has a beard. Go watch SummerSlam 2002. First time he showed up post becoming the Game without a beard.
You know who was also excited about SummerSlam 2002 was Bismarck Cheney.
I'd
Who,
love
if you
to
remember,
show you the old magazine, but all the pages are stuck together, so it's
for a guy who he was never as much of a wrestling fan as the rest of us, and he hated being part of the TWF and the fact that all his friends were part of it and wanted to talk about it all the time. But for some reason, he picked up somewhere along the way, I don't know if it was before the trip or on the trip, he picked up the special magazine talking about the upcoming event.
He did not pick it up. I believe it was my magazine.
Was it you? Okay.
Yes.
So he gets his hand on this magazine and that was really focused on The Rock and Brock Lesnar and how they were training for their confrontation. And much like a toddler, he read the same thing over and over again the entire trip in the car, anytime he wasn't driving or navigating.
I would have more compared it to a young teen and their first Playboy. Because the man was not so much reading as he was just staring at the pictures of like Brock in an ice bath. And The Rock running upstairs and all that. And then he would turn to occasionally, I want to say it was Tori Wilson. Maybe like a picture of Tori Wilson. And like, or maybe that's where we kept saying to him, like, there's that picture you can be focusing on as well. He was obsessed with it. By the time we arrived back home, that book that magazine was
well read.
It was well read. The cover was off. It was not cared for. But it was a hell of a trip. It was a lot of fun. And if you're saying to yourselves, well, this is weird. I thought this was talking about your journey in wrestling. Why have I just for an hour been listening to you guys talk about this trip to Canada? Number one, it's talking with friends, and we can talk about whatever we want. Thank you very much. Number two.
Oh, we already talked about number two.
All right. Well, then number three, on this trip is when I said to the guys, I need to take a break with the TWF. I'm burnt out. I can't do it anymore. It's killing me. I need to take a break. Also on this trip, I filmed, as you've seen, if you're watching this, I'm sure you've seen footage from when I had my camera to film. Fred and I had our camera there, and Matt Mangol had his own camera, but no matter who was filming, Matt Mangol was narrating to the Doc and Bill Bain as though we were going to show this to the Doc and Bill Bain, constantly just like, no. Oh, hey Doc, this one's for you. Never showed it to them.
Because what they needed in their lives was to sit down and watch a video of our trip to Canada that they weren't on.
I said I needed to stop the TWF, and right around that time, we talked about Murad Habishian, Morad, who had Morad's Toys, and we had done, we had met him, and he had been at our show and was selling his figures, and he was ready to open up his own spot, and it wasn't any spot. It wasn't a dog spot, it wasn't a liver spot. It was it was Rob Dimension's spot. Rob Dimension, who had Dimensions Collectibles, I want to say it was called, in Ambler, across the street from the Rita's Water Ice, for anyone who wants to Google it. There was a little shop there, and Rob Dimension sold like Yu-Gi-Oh cards or whatever, and some wrestling stuff, and that was it. And Rob Dimension was very tight with Steve Carino. He was
PWF,
with the PWF, and we talked about that. That was, who I had gone to, and we talked about that a few episodes ago, available in the archives. But the store, I guess he was leaving, and Morad kind of looked up to Rob Dimension as like what he wanted to be. So he got that lease, and Morad started his own store, and we were in there talking to him at one point, and he's kind of like, hey, when are you guys coming back? And he's like, yeah, I always wanted to run a thing. And that was when, from my saying I need a break in August of 2002 to a conversation, I want to say in September or October,
Maybe.
with Morad. Morad basically was like, well, what if? Because remember, I had a license. I had a license with the State Athletic Commission. He's like, well, what if I use your license and I promote the shows, and you guys can still do your stuff? You can do your stories, you can do your matches, you can do your not just you can. He wanted us to do that. He just wanted to run the show and make.
He wanted to be able to be part of it and plug his store. That's
want to be able to plug a store. A store would, he would sell stuff there. It would always be brought to you by, Morad's Toys Presents, whatever. And he was like, the conversation was definitely in like October, because he wanted to start in November. He was like, I want to go. And we were like, because I still was burnt.
well. That was when you might have had a preliminary talk with him, but that was what I think you referenced that last time when Scott came to stay with me. And
okay. And I think we all met to talk about it.
We were on hiatus at the time. I was living down in
a van, I believe, down by the river.
Down by the river.
Yeah.
I started going to Temple University, and I was in Temple's housing on City Line Avenue, the presidential apartments. And I had asked Mangol and Biz, who were also Temple students, to come live with me, and they said no. So I was living with some undesirable roommates who took my glasses and filled them with cigarettes. But that's a story for another time.
You're drinking glasses.
Not my
spectacles.
Yeah, I was gonna say ribs on everybody at this point, but yeah.
But for whatever reason, so we were still in touch with Scott and Bill, and Scott came up with his girlfriend at the time.
I mean, it had only been a month and a half since our last show, so it's not like we were
right.
still in touch.
No.
Like we were,
Yeah, we told them there was, we were going to come back at some point. We didn't know what we were doing, but they came to hang out and stay with me. And then, you said you've been talking to Morad and that we wanted to go by the store and have a chat with him. So
I remember we all went by the store, and long story long, basically what happened was, Morad offered me a decent amount of money for a kid. At that point, he offered to pay me $600 a show to use the license for me to book so I was still booking the venues. He was basically just money and promoting his stuff. Gave me $600 to do all of the stuff I was doing before. Now, some people would look, if you really broke it down, to book talent, to write the shows, to do the graphics on the stuff, to use my license, to wrestle, all of these things together. Some people might look at that and go, 600 is not a lot of money. When you're 19 years old and the best you have is to go for a hot dog and a handshake at some independent promotion and wrestle, that was like, I had just signed like a WCWS contract, that was huge. But I took it very seriously too, and it was also a fun thing for guys like, I know guys like Mangol, because it was the first time Mangol was going to get paid to work for the TWF. So it was going to be maybe $25, but I think you actually got a little more than that.
So I know there was a little bit of a gap, because
Morad paid. You got paid in Morad.
Yeah.
So you didn't get paid when I was running it.
Never got paid.
All right.
Never got paid by Mr. Morad. Just, hey. It's all good. I enjoyed working, so it's fine.
Yes.
For the love of the game.
Yeah, but
I was a champion, so whatever, it's fine,
What I was going to ask, so Motorrad wanted to run right away, and we decided to give it a little more rest. At what point? I know this is a big part. We're setting the table for what we're going to talk about next time, but and this will be a big part of it. When did it come up, and whose idea was it to go to look into TV?
That was mine. That was my idea. I had noticed that little promotions like this new thing called Ring of Honor were on Channel 48, but a lot of little promotions were on Channel 48. And I remember, I just
Channel 48. What, for anyone who doesn't know, was the ECW channel back in the day.
Yes, that's where ECW aired for us. And I remember I remember looking at their product, and I know they had RF video and all that stuff, but Ring of Honor was terrible back in the day, visually, as a television entity, it was terrible. In ring, I would venture to say, what we were to videos at that era in independent wrestling is what they were to in-ring wrestling.
Sure.
As good as we were with videos is as bad as they were with videos and the graphics and all. And as good as they were with wrestling was as bad as we were with wrestling. But again, like we said before, we were trying to be a pocket WWE. We were trying to be sports entertainment. Because we knew, because that's from the very early days of the Teenage Wrestling Foundation. That was our bread and butter, was that we could put on stories and we could create characters and we could, entertain in that way. We could put on matches, but you weren't getting CM Punk and Samoa Joe, out of me and Mangol. You get a good match, but you weren't getting like that style of match. So, but I looked at it and I said, our product's better. We've got like opening videos. We've got, entrance videos forever. We have all this. We're doing a TV show and we're not airing it anywhere. And a lot of the time too, I was a little bit burnt out and just kind of wrap things up to set the stage. But I was burnt out from everything that we had done, but I was also, from an ego standpoint, it's a tough thing when you look at yourself. When this was my life, my whole life was wrestling, and I felt like I had peaked at 16 at Beyond the Grave, and we've talked about that many times. I was always chasing that feeling, and here you are at 19, which felt like 20 years later. From 16 to 19, that felt like decades. But for me, I needed that. I wanted to be that guy who was in the newspaper, that guy where people are like, holy crap, like, how did this kid pull this off? And to me, I was just like, what can I do to make people go, holy crap, Josh has still got it. The ability to just randomly do something that no kid should be able to. I was like, well, what if we go on TV? And I contacted Channel 48, and I contacted a couple places, to be honest. And Channel 48 is the one that bit, and that was a fucking headache for another time. But on the next Talking with Friends, I think we'll talk about the Morad year, 2003. We ended up coming back in January of 2003, which featured a ladder match between myself and Mangol, and probably the best crowd I think we ever had in that era of the TWF, and new lights, it was a whole different production, and it was cool, and it led to TV, and it was again, much like everything else that we've done here in the scheme of the wrestling business, in the scheme of life in general, none of it was really that impressive or that important. But when you look at it from where we were and who we were, it was another really incredible milestone for this thing that started as a bunch of kids, wearing airbrush t-shirts because we didn't have wrestling gear, So it's, I think this gets into a fun story, an interesting story. And this is where some names come in and things kind of expand from there. But gentlemen, anything else? Some closing thoughts, Calvin Tan, closing thoughts on everything we talked about in this episode.
Just that if you are ever in the situation where you can take a road trip with a bunch of your friends and you don't have that much responsibilities, that you should go do it.
Yeah.
Because, out of, you may have some frustrations on the trips and stuff like that, but all those make memories, and those memories you'll never forget, and you'll get stories out of them, and, it'll just be something that you'll always remember. So if you ever have that opportunity, I encourage you to take it.
Very well
Nowadays,
said.
if you make a wrong turn, the car will reroute.
Well,
Yes.
It'll be far less stressful than it was, and you can play every Nintendo game ever right there on your phone.
Well, it was a great time period. I'm glad that we did it, and it was something unique that just kind of came out of nowhere. But I miss those times. It was different. I think all of us kind of something comes up and it spurs a memory. Now that's almost 20 years ago. But the fact is, where my phone is right now. Anyway, but take a trip with your friends. Put your effing phone down.
Yeah.
And other than just maybe one time a day checking it, don't even run the GPS off of that if you can. Just put it down. Take 2-3 days. Let the trip happen. F the phone. All right. You might get some cool things out of it that last for a long time. So I think everyone's so absorbed by this, forgetting they're going to miss stuff here on their phone. No, put it down and just interact with your friends and go and do something.
It's a great point because you know who you're not taking that
We
trip
didn't have
with?
that
All the
stuff.
people on Twitter.
Yeah.
Be with the people that you're with. I mean, God, that's a good lesson for every day in general in life. But yeah, it was really, and then Fred, we'll get to you, but it was, I look back on it again, like we talked about, I was very stressed out. Fred and I were at odds a lot of times, but you look back on it and you can look back on it with rose-colored glasses, or you can look back on it for what it was. And what it was one of those things where, us old folks will always tell the young kids, oh man, one day you're going to look back and you're going to wish that you'd done this or wish, I wish as unbelievably happy as I am in my life today, my personal life, my professional life, I could not be in a better place, but there is nothing like having that, as Calvin mentioned, no responsibility, that time period. And it was before social media, before all that crap. We weren't, because years later we would take trips and a lot of the focus would be, let's get our pictures and let's get them right up on Facebook.
Yeah.
Let's get them right, and you look back now and it was such a great time for as scary as it was, in the sense that if we were locked in that stairwell for, 2 weeks, we were kind of screwed. But there was something really nice about not really having access to, we were on our own and we were exploring, and it's a memory I look back on very, very fondly. And I hope it's a memory that one day, once all our kids are grown and stuff, we can, maybe when we're in our 60s, we can go and do it again sometime.
Sure.
Fred, what are your memories?
No, I agree. I agree with everybody. I think it was a great trip, and I think we did obviously a lot of other trips too over the years. But I think that that original one was the one that cemented our friendship. I think that we had been forming, and we've talked about how all of us met and everything. But there were as a group we kind of united over these various incarnations of TWF, and I think when around the time we were putting the office together and doing all those things, we really connected in the way that I think from that point on that we would always connect. the way we still do to this day. Anytime that any of us are together, and I think that. But it was the trip to Canada that was the first time we really like put that in motion. That we weren't working on a project or something, you know, that we just were able to like let loose and have fun and make memories that way.
That's a great point. Yeah. That's a great point. I never really thought about how much that trip did kind of solidify our friendship. And I am glad that all these years later, I am able to talk with those friends. Thank you all for joining us here. If you would be so kind to check us out on social media. You've all been great following all of us as individuals, but this poor little measly show, at the TWF show on social media, go give it some love. We see how many people are watching this and listening to this, and it's way, way, way more than are following us on Twitter. But if you would follow us as individuals, I'm, of course, at So Says Shernoff. Fred is at Frederick Shernoff. Calvin is at Underground Magi, or on Instagram at Calvin Tan Magic, I believe it is. Mm-hmm. And then Matt Mangol's at Mangol Strength. Also, I implore you to go to YouTube. Maybe you're watching this on youtube.com/mindofthemeanie right now. Number one, hit subscribe. Number two, while you're in the mood to subscribe to things, type in Personal Training Unlocked and go on YouTube, find Personal Training Unlocked. If you're saying, but how will I know if it's the right one? It's going to be Matt Mangol's face. That guy right there. Matt Mangol's there, okay? He is giving you free advice. He doesn't work any spots on there. He's just giving you free fitness advice. So go show him some love over there and hit subscribe. We appreciate those who we know some already have. So go do that. And yeah, I guess we'll be back next month to talk a little bit more about this. And spoiler before next month, I think, knock on wood, we're all supposed to be seeing each other in person this month.
That is correct. Yeah.
So we have not all been together. When was the last time we were all together?
My wedding.
So November of 2019. So we have not all been in the same room with each other since November of 2019. But hopefully by the next time you see us on here, we will have all been in the same room together. So again, social media, follow us on social media so you can see that picture. Because we will take our phones out for that one moment when we're all together, just to take that picture to post it to social media. For Matt Mangol, for Calvin Tan, for Fred Shernoff, I am Josh Shernoff. We will see you next time that I get together and spend some time talking with friends. Bye now.
Can you get a O'Keefe lane?